How do you keep the wheel spinning? How do you keep momentum building so that you can change your life in a year? That's what we're going to talk about on the Manlihood Mancast today.
Are you ready to live life to the full? Are you ready to rise up and live a life of honor? Are you ready to boldly step into a life of courage? This is the Manlihood Mancast, and here's your host, Josh Atcher.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manlihood Mancast. This is a special edition in our series called Change Your Life in a Year. And I want you to know that I'm inviting you to do this with me. So we've got the Change Your Life in a Year book and also the Change Your Life in a Year workbook. And you can grab those. The links will be in the show notes. And I want you to go through this. I want you to buy this. It's not expensive. It's really not. I'm giving you my best content for free, okay? I really am. That's what Manlihood is about. It's about helping men. And so when I ask you to buy a book from me, I'm not asking a lot. I keep the prices reasonable for what you're getting. This content is great content. This changed my life in a year. That's why I wrote the book, because I did it. And I knew that it would help other people, and so I shared it with you. So I want you to grab the book. I will say, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, this is going to be amplified if you have a good accountability system. If you have somebody walking through it with you. I have decided, after the past couple years of trying to get my head back in the place where I'm moving forward in the direction that I need to go, that I need to go through this material again. I need to set my goals again. I need to make 2023 the best year of my life so far. It worked really great all the way back several years ago. I think 2018 into 2019, from like June to June. It worked great. Then everything fell apart. The world fell apart. And I let some depression creep in. I let a whole bunch of other stuff creep into my life. And it has got me to this place where I'm not where I want to be. Now, in some places, I'm still carrying momentum. You know, my podcast that you're listening to right now is doing really well. My job is doing pretty good too. There's other areas of my life that are going pretty well. Working hard, you know, my family's doing good. We have good relationships. My marriage is doing really well, I think. My wife would probably give it a C+, and I'd give it a B+. Or maybe I might even give it an A-. But a C+, that's pretty good from my wife. I'm sure she wishes it was even better. But I say that because I don't know what grade she gives it, by the way. Sometimes I'm afraid to ask, to be honest with you. But I say that because I like, there are parts of my life that I worked on that I've still kept momentum, but there are other parts of my life, like my physical health, I haven't taken as good care of. I haven't stuck with my goals. And so I'm saying I'm going to do this again. So I want to level up in several areas of my life in 2023. And my physical health is one of them. I want to be able to be more active and to do more things, and I want to lose some weight and get healthy. And that's one of the things. But your thing might not be that. Your thing might be that you want to write a book. I wrote 6 books and published them in that year that my life was changed, because I set big goals and I did them. And I relaunched my podcast successfully and was doing great stuff with that. I did so many awesome things that year. And I think that I want to do it again, and I want you to do it with me. So, again, you can buy the books, and you can do it yourself. It's going to work better if you've got accountability. You can even put that together without spending any money. You can get 4 or 5 people and say, let's do this together. And it will work. But the way it's designed and the way it'll work the best is if you do it with the guy that wrote the book. You do it with the guy that knows the stuff. You do it with some other people who are leaders in their field. One of the guys that we have in our group this time is Justin Willoughby. The dude lost 600 pounds, and he's going to be going through this with us. You know, maybe you want to start a podcast or write a book, or maybe you want to start a business, or maybe you want to grow your business, or maybe you want to make your marriage better. Maybe you want to be a better father. You know what your goals are. I don't. You do. So I just want to say, whatever it is you want to do, let's do it together. So yes, it's going to cost you some money to be a part of my group that's going through this. It's not a lot of money. It's a lot less than the other guys are charging for this kind of stuff. So if you want to be a part of it, shoot me a message. You can message me on any of the social medias. You can look for my contact information in the show notes. Reach out. Let's get started and let's do this. Guys, we have talked so far about all of the different areas of making this change possible. And the first is changing your mindset. The next is setting goals. And the next one is breaking goals, because we break those goals down into smaller steps, right? This time, today, we're going to talk about the spinning wheel of discipline. It's step 4, right? Spinning the wheel and keeping that momentum going. And that requires discipline. You know, discipline it's important to eliminate your preconceived notions of what discipline is, because when I hear the word discipline, I think of a spanking. Not like a good spanking that some of you guys are into, which is really weird, but we're not going to talk about that today. I'm talking about like punishment. When I hear the word discipline, I sometimes by default hear the word punishment. And you might too. It's time to change that right away, because discipline is training. Discipline is training. So when you see those guys that are working hard to learn and accomplish and to grow, the military guys go to basic training so that they can be disciplined in their life, and they take that training that they learn at basic and then apply it to the rest. And then they have to go through further training as well. That's discipline. Jocko Willink, who wrote the book Discipline Equals Freedom, and he's big on discipline, says, don't expect to be motivated every day to get out there and make things happen. You won't be. Don't count on motivation. Count on discipline. And really, guys, that's the rhythms that we need to be in if we want to accomplish these goals to change your life in a year. So every year, we're going to set goals. We're going to go through the process, and if annually you set goals. And then monthly, you evaluate your objectives and your short-term goals. And that's where we go through and we say, what I want to do in this short term is to accomplish this, to get this project done, to work on this. Because the truth is, a lot of times when we have this big, long goal, this big, hairy, audacious goal, but in order to get this done, you've got to do X, Y, and Z first. Today I wanted to do some client work that I'm working on, and I wanted to get my studio cleaned up because it had become a mess. But I also wanted to record these podcasts. For me to record the podcasts today, I needed to get my studio cleaned up, and I needed to get my client work done. So I started by cleaning up the studio, getting things organized, put in a place that's reasonable, and then taking some time, and I spent a couple hours working on client work so that I could get that stuff taken care of so that I could have the time to do my goal, which was to record these podcast episodes today. And sometimes you have to do the short-term goals so that you can do the work to get to the long-term goal. And a lot of times, especially over the course of a year, those short-term goals are the stepping stones to get to the long-term goal. And we want to think of it in that perspective. You have to do each step to get there, because you don't get from the bottom of the staircase to the top of the staircase without going up the steps. You can't just be like, my goal is to get to the top of the steps and then not put a foot on the first, second, third, and fourth step. You have to do that. So that's what we do is monthly we evaluate our objectives, which are those, okay, this month I need to accomplish this. And our short-term goals, which are those things that, some of your goals you can get done in a faster time than a year. And so we set those short-term goals to get us there as well. And the other truth, guys, and the thing that we really need to understand, there's an infinite amount of excuses for your situation. You can make excuses all day long. You really could. And you can never run out of them. But the only reason that you will succeed is you. The only reason that you will succeed is you. You are the reason that you succeed. And if you've got good accountability, they're part of that reason. They will help you. Don't blame your accountability if you don't succeed, though. So, you know, that discipline is what gets us through. That discipline is what makes it happen. So as we want to keep that momentum, I'm going to tell you right now that when I started this in 2018 into 2019, I had to readjust my goals several times. There were several goals that I set that were actually, believe it or not, too big. And as I started headed towards them, my goals shifted. My priorities shifted. Life happened. A couple things came up, and I'm like, I'm not worried about that anymore. I'm going to focus on this. That's going to happen. The goals that you set at the beginning of the year might not be the goals that you end with, and that's okay. That's part of the process. I think a lot of the story of the astronauts that went to the moon, and we're not going to talk about the conspiracy theory that says we didn't go to the moon. I think we did. Okay, we could have a whole other episode about all that, but we're not gonna, because that's not what we're talking about. But the story is they got up in the atmosphere, and as they were headed there, they realized that if you're 1 degree off in your calculations, or something happens and your ship is moving slightly different direction, to get from Earth to the moon, you get going and you're not quite on trajectory. You're gonna miss the moon if you keep going. And you're like, well, I thought I was on trajectory, but then I got off course a little bit, and I'm just going to miss it. They said that the reason that they were only on course a very small percentage of the time. The rest of the time, they were making adjustments. So you adjust those goals to get back on trajectory. You adjust your objectives. You adjust your daily habits and your things that you need to do to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. And so that's what we do. We do it annually when we set our goals. We do it monthly when we look at our objectives. And then weekly, we take some time to chart out our tasks. So if you don't put it on a calendar and say, every day at 8 a.m., I'm going to do this, you won't do it. Especially at first. Honestly, once you get going with it, you might not even need to write it down anymore because it becomes habit. But you need to put your tasks, and you need to focus. A great time to do this is Sunday night. If you're a Monday through Friday type person, Sunday night's a great time just to sit down and look at your tasks and to look at, this week I have to get this accomplished, and this accomplished. And so you set out those tasks and you put them down on paper and you give them a deadline and a timeline. And that's part of this process. And the next part, guys, are the daily priorities that you have to do. So if you're going to lose 100 pounds in a year, you've got to work out so many times a week, so many times a day. You have to do this. You can take that few minutes to write out your daily priorities. When you do that weekly, you can say, all right, Monday I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this on Tuesday, I'm going to do this on Wednesday. And you write that all out once a week, and you get the plan, and then every day you do the little steps that you have to do. That's going to get you there. So again, this Change Your Life in a Year book, we show you how to do it, but in the Change Your Life in a Year workbook, we actually have, for the entire year, all of the checklists for annual, for monthly, for daily, for you to go through and mark, hey, these were my tasks this week, and I did them on this day, this day, this day, this day, and this day. And that checklist helps you see whether you're making the progress and whether you're getting there. And there's a journal and a spot to write down what victories or setbacks did you have this week. So I just want you to know, guys, there's a reason that I have this book. And I have put this together because that's what I did. This is what worked for me. I took a whole year to develop it and to do it, and it works. By the way, in that same circle, that same cycle, as we look at this year and what it's going to look like quarterly, we have to review our goals and our deadlines. How are we doing? Are we on track? That evaluation, that constant evaluation, really helps us to process and to make sure that we're keeping that spaceship on track to hit the moon. So quarterly, we review it and we reevaluate it and we change it if we have to. The other thing, guys, is journaling. You've got to be able to mark your successes and your failures and your setbacks and your struggles and your emotions, because when you really commit to change, if there's an emotion in you that's going to get in the way of that, it's going to come out. You need to have an outlet for it. So journaling is a big part of what we're doing. And I've left space for you in that workbook to have some journal space. You might need more. If you're like my wife, she fills up like a journal every day, I think. She just writes so much in her journal. And I'm a little like, felt bad today. That's enough for me. But to be able to track that is going to be good and helpful. So that's also in that workbook. But guys, I want you to do this with me. I want to see us succeed. I want to see us become who we can be. So guys, the last part is accountability. It is the last part of the whole Change Your Life in a Year structure. And I know I've talked a lot about it, and I know that I've talked to you and tried to sell you on the coaching, and I just want you to know I want you to be in this coaching. I want you to do this coaching with me. I want you to be a part of this group of men that are a mastermind where we're all working together to accomplish our goals. It's the best way to do it, I really think. But if you need to do this on your own, if you want to get the book and go through it on your own, get some people to do this with you. Don't go it alone. If you don't have any accountability in your life, if you don't have people saying, how are you doing on your goal? You're not going to get there. If you want to quit smoking and there's nobody to say, hey, you probably shouldn't light that up. Or if you don't have somebody to say, dude, I am jonesing for a candy bar. If you don't have that person to call and they can say you don't need to eat the candy bar. Or if you don't have someone to encourage you and to tell you you're doing great when you're doing great, you're going to struggle. We were not meant to live life alone. We're meant to live life in community, in families. So if you don't want to go through the official paid coaching that I'm offering you, get people in your life to hold you accountable because you need it. I need it. We all need it. It's important. So don't neglect it. That is really how you take all this stuff that you've worked on and make it mean something by having that accountability to make it happen. All right, guys, listen, if you want to be a part of this, if you want to be a part of my group that's doing this, please shoot me a message. All you got to do is send it to my email address, which will be in the show notes, or you can send me a text message, or you can reach out to me on social media. I really want you to be a part of this with me. So let's hook up. Let's make it happen. Let's change your life in a year. Anyway, guys, I love you. I care about you, and I'll see you next time.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. Men, you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood Man Cave, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood Mancast.